Where is it going? This next year, Kentucky. Oh, okay, then next year, yeah. I thought there was one in. It would, we saw one, well, it was hard. Because Logan Foot was so pretty. She was upward. And so she was, yeah. I remember that one? Yeah, the what was the wildest thing was we really were in a place where we enjoyed the darkness. Yeah, we made meditation for those. And it was just up to the end of that, these years. It was like, wow. Yeah, that was wild. to be of use. The people I love the best jump into work headfirst without dallying in the shallows and swim off with sure strokes almost out of sight. They seem to become natives of that element, the black, sleek heads of seals bouncing like half-submerged balls. I love people who harness themselves, an ox to a heavy cart, who pull like water buffalo with massive patience, who strain in the mud and the muck to move things forward, to do what has to be done again and again. I want to be with people who submerge in the task, who go into the fields to harvest and work in a row and pass the bags along, who are not parlor generals and field deserters, but move in a common rhythm when the food must come in or the fire be put out. The work of the world is common as mud. Botched, it smears the hands, crumbles to dust. But the thing worth doing well has a shape that satisfies, clean and evident. Greek amphoras for wine or oil. Hopi vases that held corn are put in museums, but you know they were made to be used. The pitcher cries for water to carry, and a person for work that is real. Please rise and body your spirit for the opening hymn, What Wondrous Love Is This?
What wondrous love is this? Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning and welcome to this Independence Day weekend. Is it hot enough for you all?
No.
Somebody said no. It was not me. Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Church of Baton Rouge. My name is Reverend Chris Long, one of your ministers here. I am the minister of congregational life. My pronouns of choice are he, him, his. Upon the chancel today, we have Reverend Sarah Dindy Green, who is up from New Orleans this morning. To be continued ministerial support while our senior minister, Reverend Nathan Ryan, is on sabbatical. Thanks again, Reverend Sarah, for joining us. Speaking of, where were we last week? Does anybody know where Reverend Chris and Kathy Smith were, and Sarah and a few others, and Dave Lindenfeld? General Assembly, the annual meeting of Unitarian Universalists. Guess how many folks were there? 2,800. Guess how many ministers gathered for our ministers' retreat?
600.
485 in the hall present and 185 that gathered online. Can you imagine 2,800 of us in one place in Pittsburgh, right? It was wonderful and wonderful and wonderful. Speaking of Reverend Nathan, he and I did have our first planned meeting to catch up a bit at the General Assembly. He invited me to share with you all that he is fine. He didn't tell you this, but he's half done with his sabbatical, and he is at the beach. He said he's having fun at the beach. And those of you who know Reverend Nathan and the beach, that isn't altogether true. But I did get a picture of from the beach just a few days ago. Our worship associates this morning are Canova Smith, and her little amazing Annabelle is joining us up on the chancel. And our music director is Lee Hartman, and in our treehouse, our technical person is Brian St. George. Let's give it up for Brian, who's working the YouTubes and the interwebs for us today. If you are visiting us for the first time, good morning, and we are glad that you are here. Thank you for joining us for worship today. Please do come again to see if this may become your sacred community of hope. Also, do join members and friends of the congregation in our kitchen area for refreshments and coffee. Yes, that's right, Alex. Let us know what you're feeling. That's Alex, our new one who just joined us. Join us in the kitchen area for refreshments after the service. Those joining us on live stream, good morning and welcome to you as well. As it will be 100 degrees here in Baton Rouge today, or 98, what's the temperature where you're joining us from? Put it in the chat. What do you think about that? So maybe you're experiencing cooler or maybe even warmer temperatures. Thank you for joining us. A few announcements for the morning. Next Sunday, July 9th, we're having our Connections Fair. That's an opportunity for us to share with everybody of the congregation some of the amazing work that's happening here that's not happening on Sundays. Get what organizations we're involved in, what does membership look like, where's the membership team growing, safety team, they're pulling together the safety plan, so you'll get more information about that. Do come, it's after the first and second services, so we can get better acquainted what is happening since the reopening of the church, as we're still navigating some of those weird times. The Stewardship Drive team will be videotaping church members today after both services. They want to hear from you on what you love about this church and what are your dreams for it. And if you'd be willing to be videoed, they will be posting your answers or videos on Instagram if you choose, or you can just write your answers down and the team members will read it. This is a way you can get even more involved in the future planning of our church. Stop by the table today. From our safety team, as you know, the upgrades to increase our building security have finally begun. Woo! Watch for further announcements on how to request access to the building and updates on ongoing work. Please note the current keys will still unlock the office door right to the right of the fountain out there, the sanctuary doors, those doors, and the fellowship hall doors across the way. Is that clear? Everybody still has the same access. We're going to change key codes, and I hear there's an art project that's going to come out of the old keys. Did you hear? Art project. Don't tell anyone. It's a secret. I think we have two more. Climate Interest Group will have a meeting today from 10:15 to 11:15 in room 7, the Climate Interest. And lastly, those interested in our, the last announcement is from Kathy Smith, our Director of Family Ministries. In our middle hour, which is where we have most of our Sunday programming, religious education, adult faith development, they're going to continue to be exploring Ellery Church Mouse Sacred Play, and this is for children and adults as well. Again, good morning. Good morning. Glad you are here, and a happy Independence Day weekend to you. The sharing of stones ritual here at the Unitarian Church of Baton Rouge is a time in our service where we take pause to come forth to share stones as we honor the joys and sorrow of our lives with this community. Visitors, as always, are welcome to take part in this ritual. This week and every week, those who gather are invited to sign cards for members of the congregation at our congregational care team, also in the kitchen area, for those that are experiencing times in the hospital, a major milestone, and a 90th birthday or more. Today we do have one stone of condolence to share with Vanessa Lewis on the death of her aunt and godmother, Violet Bordelon Riche, who passed away on June 24th. We have 3 cards to be signed on your way out to let members of the church and their families let them know that we are thinking of them. Our first card is for Lang Baker as he begins cancer treatment this week. The next card is for Audrey Allen, daughter of Penny Nichols, who is a paramedic and had to pronounce her good friend deceased in that accident that happened on Tuesday. Our thoughts and prayers are with them all. And we have a card for the recovery of Rebecca Cummings for a few medical events that have happened, and they are receiving care at the Sage Hospital. Please, again, do sign those cards on your way out. For those who would like to take part in this ritual, please do come forth lining the east or west walls of our sanctuary. Our sharing of stones ritual begins. Let us say together our chalice lighting words, with hope to make this a better world. We light this flame. It's a symbol of the power of love. Sounding good. The heat may not be getting to you too bad. That was really beautiful. I wish you could hear it and feel it from here. Each month, this congregation generously and with humility shares 1/2 of its weekly offering for the month with a local organization that is extending our mission and current vision into the community. We will be sharing what is collected this month with VOTE. That acronym is Voices of the Experienced. We are working to build our relationship with VOTE as a church through our social justice team's commitment to the right to vote and to a more fair elections process. Do we need some fair elections in our? Do we need some fair elections in our country? Amen, thank you. Not based on political parties, but more equitable and democratic processes. Voices of the Experienced works to restore the voting rights of formerly incarcerated people and people with convictions by changing voting policies, canvassing in our neighborhoods and communities, hosting voter registration drives, and educating the public on the civil and human rights of those with convictions. We also know health care is both a human right and a necessity, especially in the vulnerable times during and after incarceration. Vote is working in the legislature and in our communities to ensure that medical care is accessible and equitable, both for our folks inside and folks coming out and coming home. This month, 1/2 of our offering will be shared with Vote. As always, visitors, please feel no obligation to give. We at this church are building on our financial giving as a spiritual practice, extending our values into this community in yet another way. This morning's offering will humbly be accepted and shared in the same spirit. Please, please give generously. Will the ushers please come forward? Thank you.
Dance while the hive collapses. Oh my, I lose myself. I study atlases and cirrus paths in search of traces of it, of you, of that thing, of that song. I keep pressing my ear to the current of air to hear. I hear it, and it disappears. It was all I wanted to do in this life, to sense that phantom tap on my nerves, to allow myself to be hit by it, attacked, aroused, until, as if someone else, I arise and dance my part in paradise. I read that bees who've drunk imidacloprid can't wiggle to indicate to others where the best nectar is located. You and I also long to map for each other the sweetest suck of sap. Workers carry far less food back to the waiting hive. They wander, wobble, can't bring their way home alive. The imidacloprid imbibed cannot bring it back to the colony. Some hives collapse entirely. I desire to say that I would do it differently. I would be the bee bloomed with pesticide that still would shake out a wiggle like the finger signature on the iPad at checkout. Not quite you, but still identity more like a wave than solid you, yet enough to signify. There in the far-off field, spiked acanthus, trumpets of datura in the abandoned lot on the corner of International and High, the mystic assignation, the golden throat of light. Gorge, gorge, take your fill, I would cry, before I too failed and my bumbling body lay down to die. I'd dance my last dance to rescue the hive. Yes, I'd carry the amber wearers out alive. Or not. Perhaps I too would succumb to the corn syrup chemical piped into our supply. I too, longing to find my way to you, would go off course. Alas, there is still melody, rhythm, someone streaking out in air, droning around the phonograph, which is the grooved heart valve of the black vinyl divine who is winding this universe. Someone is dancing us. Will it be you?
Good morning.
Thank you.
My little remnant to share from General Assembly was a prayer written by some of our young adults. They invited us to pray at the last general session before we were about to make some really big votes. Let's pray together. Spirit of life and love, Spirit of the soil and the water, we join you from the grassroots, seeking solidarity and healing from the violence of extractive wealth. For all of us imprisoned, may we circle for release. With love at the center and transformation as the mandate of our faith, we hear the call coming from inside the house. May we know it to be true. In a moment where we are deciding our legacy and our responsibility in the family of things, our impact depends on our willingness to transform. May we respond with courage, integrity, and conviction, knowing that we will survive this. We have studied our history, both the prophetic and the posturing, to discern clarity and accountability. May we make history anew on the wings of compassion, justice, and hope. For the leaders of our faith, for the investors of our resources, for the representatives of our congregations, we pray for bravery in the face of misinformation, manipulation, and fear. Amen. May it be so. Ashe, ashe, ashe. Our lesson today is a song inspired by a couple different things, inspired by the onslaught of happenings of this week, inspired by reading about the UPS workers in contract negotiations and preparing to strike. And I thought we could all use a good union song. And so, right, yeah, we could. And so this is a song that's in our hymnal, but does come from the labor movement. It's called Step by Step. The words are on the screen, but we'll just say them out loud once. We're gonna say them again with the melody, and then, because I grew up Southern Baptist, we have hand motions. And I think we could all use some hand motions this week. So join me in, we can all read it together since you have the words. Step by step, the longest march can be won, can be won. Many stones can form an arch, singly none, singly none. And by union, what we will can be accomplished still. Drops of water turn a mill, singly none, singly none. All right, let's try it with the melody. We're gonna take it pretty slow. When I do this, that is signaling that it's your turn to try it out. Step by step, the longest march can be won, can be won. Step by step, the longest march can be won, can be won. Many stones can form an arch, arch, singly none, singly none. Many stones can form an arch, singly none, singly none. And by union what we will can be accomplished still. And by union what we will can be accomplished still. Drops of water turn a mill, singly none, singly none. Drops of water turn a mill, singly none, singly none. We're on the right track, people. Okay, but we're not done. We have to do the hand motions. All right, they're pretty simple because that's how they stick in our brains and in our hearts and in our hands. One of my favorite organizers says, "What the hands do, the heart learns." All right. So for the first line, we'll go step by step, the longest march can be won, can be won. So we're just gonna take some little tippy toe finger steps across our arm. I would notice if you get to your elbow before the line. This is a practice in moving with the group. You like that, huh? And then many stones can form an arch, singly none, singly none. So you're making that arch with your hand. See? For the next line, we're gonna pretend like we're holding a picket sign. And by union, what we will, then we're gonna switch. Can be accomplished still. So if you never held a picket sign, go hold one. It's a good exercise. But you can do a little, you can hold, you can jig, you can switch sides, you can say one side, but imagine this big sign that says housing for all, or whatever you feel called to join with others around. And then the last one, so can be accomplished still, drops of water turn a mill, singly none, singly none. Okay, so like I talked about last time I was here, learning a new song is a little bit like making a map. Maybe all you want to say is, and by union what we will, and sing that part. Just make that your part, if that's all you want to get. If you are a little more familiar with the song, maybe sing the words, and if you want to try to make a little narrative, think about who this person is and what their journey is in their experience in community of building power. Let your imagination roam. So those are my invitations, map making benchmarks as we sing this song. We'll sing it twice through. Step by step, the longest march can be won, can be won. Many stones can form an arch, singly none, singly none. And by union, what we will can be accomplished still. Drops of water turn a mill, singly none, singly. One more time, step by step, the longest march can be won, can be won. Many stones can form an arch, singly none, singly none. And by union, what we will can be accomplished still. Drops of water that was incredible. We got to get y'all on the stage somewhere. Luckily, we have 2 years to the next General Assembly, but stay ready. Thanks you all for going on that journey with me. Earlier this week, Reverend Chris Long was texting me saying, oh, did you see the order of service? Like, let's get your readings together. And so I started thumbing through what I told him I was going to preach about this week. And I said, I'm going to talk about that? That's what I'm supposed to talk about when the rubber meets the road? After, first of all, I've driven 3,500 miles to Maine and back. We have journeyed along General Assembly and gathering with the ministers. I have been where the rubber meets the road this week. So it was one of those where, and this is a little ministry secret, sometimes we preach the sermon we need to hear. And so we're going to try to do a little bit of that and a little bit of helping us as a congregation, as a community, navigate the week that many of us might also have had. It starts with this question. When the rubber meets the road, are we going to spin out? Does our shiny floor model pass a road test? Now, it's a little more complicated than that. Unitarian Universalism is a faith that was constructed in the streets, in the world. And our world is changing. The roads are a little more haphazard. Just on I-10, it buckled from the heat. Will our faith pass a road test? Back in the olden days of commercials on TVs, and maybe perhaps still, I remember looking at those car commercials that had the, Kia driving through those obstacles. Y'all remember those? And they're like flying, and they're swerving, and they're jumping and landing and turning fast corners. We have those. We have those things that catch us off guard, that require giant leaps of faith, that really test all of those shiny ideas that we put together on a Sunday. Sometimes those obstacles look like dealing with property. Wow, lots of obstacles happen there. Endowments, particular models of growth, where growth means bigger and better. The pressure of young people and leadership, and what do we do? Individually, it looks like ideas about goodness, worthiness, fear of loneliness. And when these things happen, we kind of get caught off guard. It's when our rubber meets the road, when this idea of covenant and universalism really gets tried. Are these obstacles inherently bad? Is property inherently bad? Depends on who you ask, but I don't think necessarily. Not at all. They're just complex entities that we underestimate. And they require that we engage our faith. They require that we dust off the covenant, that we practice our rituals, that we meet each other where we're at. And that's some of the juiciness that we're going to go and get into today. But for now, please join me standing as your spirit, your body feels moved to hymn 83, Winds Be Still.
Storm clouds vast and silence comes.
I'm done now. So who here likes graphs and templates and models? A couple. That makes sense for you church. Well, I don't. I just feel like they're boxes that confine me, and there's so many other solutions outside of those templates. So while I don't like them as a thing to sort of map my life onto, I do like to wrestle with them. I think it's quite fun to figure out, oh, this part works, to really dissect and to really not throw the baby out with the bathwater, you know? There are things that are useful about these models because they've been tried and tested, best case scenario, on actual lives, on people, on how our earth moves. So I want to share with you one this morning. Hey, Alex. Hey, you good? Okay, awesome. So this model was gifted to us as UUs by Natalie Briscoe. She's a religious educator who lives in Texas, and through her, I think, graduate work, she developed the stages of faith development. So for me, I already think stages, there's some linearness to this model, and as a Gemini and a 7 on the Enneagram, linear is just not my vibe. As someone from New Orleans, this life cycle is anything but linear, more cyclical, more spirals. So I hope Natalie won't be too offended that I renamed her work. I renamed it Peninsulas of Faith Development. And we got a gospel bring. So peninsulas of faith development. So think of a peninsula like Florida, or can someone throw out another name of a peninsula that they know? Cape Cod, San Francisco, Michigan, Yucatan Peninsula? Bolivar. Okay, so it's connected to a landmass, so it does have something that's shared, but there are little chutes out where people can go. Maybe there's a view of the horizon. Maybe there's some delicious oysters. They each have their own little ecosystem, really. So, Natalie, if you're watching, I hope that my renaming doesn't cause too much stress for you. And when we're gonna talk about them, I've mixed them up so that we can get into the mindset that these aren't linear things that you have to complete one stage before the next. These are simply just ecosystems that we live in our faith lives throughout decades. One of the peninsulas is a deconstructive peninsula. It's the one where people are asking lots of questions, where they're saying, I don't interpret it like that. Like, what's going on here? Or, you know, you say you're about this, but I'm not really seeing it. That must mean it's not true. You know, sometimes it can feel like, even as adults, a little moment of teenage angst, of just, it's not for nothing, but it's agitation about the things not lining up, about the stories not aligning with our realities, and it causes friction in our spirits. So that's the peninsula of deconstruction. Then there's the peninsula of Swiss cheese, where, and again, these are not steps, but there's the peninsula of Swiss cheese, where our stories are a little porous. We are starting to have information from new sources. Maybe we travel, maybe we visit a new place, meet a new person who has something to offer us that feels relevant. Swiss cheese, Horace. Then there's the peninsula called grounded with trusted others. And this is where you're not really in charge, you're not really making a lot of decisions, but you're held in community. Natalie talks about this stage as something that happens very young in our lives, where we are sort of relying on our parents and our caregivers to hold the space for us, to say, now it's time for Kwanzaa, now it's time for Easter, and this is what we do during those times. We are held by something larger. There's another peninsula that's about practicing stories and rituals. So you're trying it on. For those of you who have a background in theory or just the academy generally, they do something called rehearsing the argument, where you read a text, let's just Fanon, and you practice, you rehearse it. You rehearse all the moves he makes to get to where he lands. And you just do that over and over again until there's some familiarity with the story. We practice the Christmas story. We practice the story of our church. We try it on, we tell it to others. We see, there's a gap here. I need to go back and see what's missing. That is the peninsula of practicing stories and rituals. There's another peninsula that's about world building. And so this is where the stories and the reality start to get a little closer, inch together. Maybe there's other people who are joining this world with you. Maybe there's committees that are part of your experience at church. World building. And the last one, I really couldn't think of a better description than lucid dreaming, where it's just like everything is one and there's connections and everyone has wisdom and gets to be a part of your story and what you know about the universe. All these different peninsulas as their own ecosystems that we all are, connected by this landmass that for most of us here is Unitarian Universalism. And sometimes we are just saying hello from across the bay. We're sending smoke signals, we're putting messages in the bottle, trying to reach people across the peninsulas. And we engage from those obstacles that I mentioned before, from those places. We meet in the middle, in the sea, in the bay, with all the tools, the gifts, and the challenges that come with them. The person who's on the deconstruction peninsula has tools that the world-building peninsula is not using. Sometimes because we have been let down or that we are healing from a hard thing, we need to be on the peninsula that's grounded with trusted others. Because it's not our time to lead, it's our time to receive. These are where we meet the obstacles. Please join me in meditation on breathing. I invite you to sit still in your chair, find your breath, and arrive. in a program that I run called Grounded and Resilient Organizers Workshop. We study what we call the movement plagues. The things that stop our movement, stop justice right in its track. We talk about governing well. We talk about moving through conflict, caring for each other. We talk about time and imagining ourselves in a continuum of justice movers and shakers. We talk about imagining and imagination. Studying and sharing information is one of the things we can do from our peninsulas to navigate the obstacles like conflict that are gonna find us, that are in some ways inevitable. We have other tools though also. Slowing down. See, what happens when we meet these obstacles is that we go into our muscle memory, the thing that we know how to do. People talk about this sometimes as a fight, flight, freeze, appease reaction. It's instant. And we, our churches, our institutions, do what they know how to do. One of the tools we have from our peninsulas is to slow down. To remember that not everything has to be solved now. You may be saying, Sarah, you're saying that a little too easy. You're up here saying slow down like we can just snap our fingers and slow down. Well, friends, it's not that easy, as you know. And it's critical that we breathe, that we understand ourselves in a continuum of time, that we understand ourselves in one of the stones, one of the many, one of the thousands, millions of stones that build an arch. The last tool we have is about anchoring in covenant. How often do we make covenants that we never revisit? That we never check in on when things are going, quote, well. Anchoring in covenant, which is the bedrock of our faith, is how we navigate those obstacles well with each other. So friends, as we journey into and away from the different peninsulas that we find ourselves, whether it be Swiss cheese, the peninsula of Swiss cheese, or the peninsula of deconstruction, when we anchor in covenant, we have something that is beneath the water. That's the bedrock. That's holding the water, that's holding the boats, that's holding the orcas, that's holding everything. So from whatever peninsula you are on, friends, it's time to take the car off the lot. It's time to see what happens when the rubber meets the road. We can gather information and study what feels hard and what others have done. We can slow down to maneuver any surprises. And we can tie a rope that leads us back to each other and the promises we've made. And when it's our time for the rubber to meet the road, may it be with grace, may it be with compassion, and may it be with other beloveds. Amen and Ashe. Then there's always, the song. I was on my little peninsula there for a moment, but we're bringing it back. Please join me one last time, step by step. parlor generals and field visitors, but move in a common rhythm, where the food must come in or the fire be put out. The work of the world is common as mud, botched. It smears the hands, crumbles stuff. But the thing worth doing well has a shape that satisfies, clean and elegant. Greek amphoras for wine, oil, pokey vases that held corn are put in museums, but you know they were made to be used. The pitcher cries for water to carry, and a person for work that is real. May it be so. Amen.
got my book, but he sort of stopped.